Welcome to the Crypto and Blockchain Talk.
Hello.
Hey.
Guten Tag.
Aloha.
Hola. Shalom.
Hello.
Namaste.
Ni hao.
Privet.
Hello.
Salut. Yassas.
Salve.
Ciao.
Bonjour. Our podcast talks about the latest trends in the worlds of cryptocurrencies and the blockchain.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Crypto and Blockchain Talk. Yes, things are still very interesting in the crypto sphere, and we're going to get around to all of that as per usual. But today with me, I have a gentleman who has a very interesting and unique background. And we're going to talk about him and everything he does, and of course, the news and everything that's beautiful around crypto and blockchain. But let's first welcome Adam Lowe to the podcast. Adam is the Chief Product and Innovation Officer at CompoSecure, and he's going to explain about what that is, what that does, what it stands for, as well as also one of their product lines, if not maybe more than one product line. And the product line he's going to be talking about is called Arculus. Now, first of all, let's welcome Adam to the show. Adam, welcome to Crypto and Blockchain Talk.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So the first question I'm going to ask you is, were you at all invested into Terra Luna? And do I need to give you some tissues?
No, I am long crypto. I was not long in Terra, so I'm $0 hurt by Terra.
Oh, that's good. We don't need to pass the Kleenex to you, so that's a really good thing. You created this authentication platform, which is basically helping crypto wallets and cold storage, making it very easy for people to buy and swap and send and receive and store crypto safely and securely. I want you to talk about what you're doing with this particular product line, because as you know, there is a lot which is going on within people and making sure that their crypto assets are safe and secure, mostly because of what's happening in terms of different scams and cons that are out there. But I think before we get there, because we know our listeners like to hear about the people we have on here and why you should be allowed to open your mouth, and because they want to know that you actually have some skin in the game in terms of intelligence. So let's first go over that. So tell us how you got to this stage of being in crypto and, well, I should actually say being within this realm of technology that is there to help people within the crypto sphere.
Sure. So going back a few years, I've been with CompoSecure around 9 years, and it's a decent sized company. We're publicly traded company now that you've never heard of. So if you have a metal card in your pocket, it's very, very, very likely that we produce it. So whether you have an Amex Platinum card in your pocket or JP Morgan Reserve or a litany of other large banks and fintechs, we produced it. And my team, amazing set of engineers, came up with the technology to make the tap to pay and metal cards work. And that's really important. And how that relates to crypto is to generate and store the secure information on the chips on those cards. We handle and the software around a lot of cryptography. So I had a strong personal interest in cryptocurrency for various reasons. And one day I thought to myself, if we handle the private keys for some of the largest banks in the world, we should be able to handle, store, and secure keys for cryptocurrency. After some discussions with our CEO, who's awesome, he gave me the latitude to start investigating that. And we started working on the Arculus journey. And now here we have what I think is a pretty elegant solution for crypto cold storage in the form of a hardware wallet, with the security on the smart card where we think it belongs and the user interface on the mobile where we think it belongs. And we think that split kind of gives you the best of both worlds. Staying on my background for a minute, prior to Compo, I was in defense. So I worked for a few years at a not-for-profit defense contractor in upstate New York, where I led a team there, worked on a variety of projects for special operations and intelligence communities. And prior to that, I was in graduate school.
according to the corporate profile for CompoSecure, it does mention that it's an emergent provider of crypto and digital asset storage and security solutions, and then it talks about the affluent customers. So is it just those people who are you guys just servicing the whales of the world, or are you guys really looking at every man?
No, Arculus is really built for anyone who has any meaningful amount of crypto at all, right? If you have the $5, get you started on your exchange of choice, you're maybe not ready yet on your crypto journey, but it's really targeted at anyone who has any meaningful amount of crypto. That language is from the original proxy statement and kind of the process of going public, so they have to use some pretty specific language around who target markets are relative to the payment card business, where that is looking at a slightly more affluent customer. But I will say it's somewhat mass market in that if you look at something like an Amazon card, right, that's a bit more mass market than, say, a private banking card. So our products on the payment side do span even beyond what would traditionally be called affluent into the mass affluent market, so kind of the middle market. But on the Arculus product, we really do think that it's designed and built to be easy to use and bring crypto to the next 200 million users. That is one of the core tenets of building it, is that anyone should be able to use it. It should be incredibly simple. It should be incredibly safe, and it should be a form factor people are familiar with. So those were three fundamental tenets as we built the product. I also want to kind of talk about, on the B2B side of Arculus, in the sense, we also do digital identity. So, I don't know if you've ever used a YubiKey, or some of your listeners have used a YubiKey.
Mm-hmm.
That runs on the FIDO standard. So we can also put that on the smart card. So whether you want to do secure login and, tap the card to the back of your phone and securely log into the platform of your choice, Arculus can do that. And then if you want to use Arculus to manage your private keys for your crypto, Arculus can do that as well. And that's what the consumer product is we sell today. Generation, storage, and secure use of your private keys for your crypto.
Okay, so you just mentioned a standard. You said FIDO standard. Explain what that is.
Sure. So the FIDO 2 standard is Fast ID Online. And again, this is separate for crypto. It's a very widely adopted key-based system for login, and that's really important. So, forgetting crypto for a minute, whether you want to secure your bank account, you want to secure your Gmail, you want to secure your Amazon, AWS login, it's a key-based login, where if the unique key on your authenticator is the only way that it's going to let you into the account, right? Usernames and passwords are shared secrets, and all shared secrets are a problem. Even some biometric systems, it's really just a proxy to pass your password to the server. So that's slightly more secure, but if your password's out on the dark web, it doesn't help you that you're using a biometric to log in. So, this asymmetric cryptography is these keys on, whether it's the secure element in your phone or your YubiKey or your, B2B Arculus platform that we have, that's really important and a really big step towards creating key-based login, which is infinitely more secure than user-based password. It's easier to use than time-based passwords. Like, I don't know if you've ever used like Google Authenticator or something. The tab out, go get 6 digits, get back to the platform, enter the 6 digits, don't mess it up and pray it hasn't timed out yet. Like, that's not a great user experience. I would rather just tap my card to the back of my phone, keys check out, and it logs me in. And you don't have to take my word for it. A few weeks ago, there was an article that came out that said Google, Microsoft, and Apple are all throwing their weight behind the standard. So, we've been preaching it for like a year, and this feels pretty good that, hey, the giants in the industry are also putting significant effort behind this login standard.
Well, do you think that mobile phone providers are also throwing their weight behind that kind of a standard? Because, of course, you have this arena known as the SIMswap. Address that for a moment, if you can. Also, if you could also explain to the listeners what a SIMswap is.
Sure. So a SIMswap is essentially where your identity tied to your phone number can be cloned and a third party, a bad actor, can simulate you on a different device to try to boil it down. It's actually not very hard to do. There's unfortunately out on the web plenty of cookbooks for people to do it. And one reason that it's become so common is the most common fallback method for login is getting a text message, right? A one-time SMS. And if you are SIM-swapped and someone looks like you, then you can get this one-time SMS and you're in. So whether it's your, banking account or your Netflix account or whatever, someone can effectively clone you, make a new SIM card look like your SIM card, and regenerate your phone on their phone. And that is problematic.
How scary is that, right?
Very problematic.
Especially with people with crypto or any kind of online banking. It doesn't really matter.
Yes. So that's why, when you turn on 2FA and the provider says, oh, we'll send you a text message, that's not really great. It's incrementally better than just a username and password, but it is not great. A variety of platforms have had that flaw exposed. Thousands of people lost their crypto. Other platforms have been exploited. So 2FA with a text message is not great. I get that some platforms, that's all they offer you, and you can only use what platforms offer you, but it's not that great. To your other question about FIDO on a phone, so if you have keys for your FIDO authenticator stored on your phone, it should not be vulnerable to SIMswap because it lives on the secure element or secure enclave in the phone, and that is not associated with the data tied to a SIMswap. So that's very positive. That said, people have, academics penetrated some secure enclaves of some smartphones, and the keys, quote, fell off the keyring. So that's not, I like having my authenticators offline in a separate device like our smart card. But still, FIDO on your phone is way, way, way better than getting a text message.
Does Arculus actually address everything to do with SIM swaps, and is it really secure enough to actually address all that as well?
Yes, we believe it is. Arculus acts a lot like a banking card, probably because of our heritage. So, it's a secure element, secure operating system and environment, and it's offline, right? There's no Bluetooth. It's not connected or paired to anything. There's no battery to run out. Your keys live stored inside that secure microchip, and then when you need them, you tap it to the back of your phone. The phone powers up the card via RF, the same way you tap to pay at a grocery store with a credit card, and it interacts with the phone, signs a transaction if it's crypto or logs you in if it's FIDO, and you go on your way. We think this is really, really beneficial, and we think we can live, for FIDO at least, in that ecosystem with the phone. So you can imagine probably your day-to-day, you might log in with biometric using the FIDO standard on your phone, but if there's a high-value transaction, you have that extra step and you tap your card, or let's say you lose your phone and you get a new phone. Your card's a really secure way to prove that you are you the first time. It's also known as the bootstrapping problem. The nice thing about being in the smart card form factor is that we can also do things like put payment on the card. So, instead of carrying another dongle that you're going to lose, you're already carrying your credit card. For certain partners that we're talking to, still under NDA for now, they're looking at payment plus FIDO, and we think that adds incredible utility, right? It's a branded thing for their brand that's going to provide their brand and platform more security, and it's a branded token that's already in your pocket. And we think that's a ton of utility, and we think their user base is going to be excited about it.
So I know that you said that you're in some kind of secret talks with probably some major names on getting this out there into the average person's hand. What do you think about, though, with in terms of adoption and people even understanding what's the uptake right now on your solutions? How many people currently are using your solutions, and what's the trajectory of what do you guys see as being, let's say, 1 year versus 5 years from now?
Yeah, we see really positive trajectory. I can't get to any exact numbers. Our advantage is in part the form factor, right? Almost everybody's tapped a card at a payment card terminal. Everybody knows how to use it. So if your app of choice says, hey, for security, can you tap the card to the back of your phone and prove you're you? I don't think that bothers anybody. Doesn't feel foreign. It doesn't feel weird. That adds a lot of value to our customers. A lot of crypto platforms, as an example, already use the FIDO standard. For the most part, they're using YubiKeys. But, it's not a hard sell to be like, hey, you have a credit or debit card. You already support the FIDO standard. How would you like a thing that does both? So we're excited about those potentials as well.
There's a lot of legislation going on right now all over the world when it comes to crypto. You have the EU, who is looking at how they're going to be addressing certain laws and legislation in terms of crypto payments and even every single aspect of crypto and blockchain that you can imagine. Of course, the United States is looking at everything from the podcast that's coming out next actually is about how they're going to hunt down and find the crypto from Russian oligarchs. But the guy I did that podcast with is ex-Interpol, and basically he said, yeah, good luck on that one. And so
if you know what you're doing, you can't find it. Like
Exactly.
If the criminals are dumb, okay, they'll track it. But if you know what you're doing, that's good luck.
Exactly. I mean, that's the problem here. You're a really smart guy. You're like PhD'd up to the hilt. You're Ivy League, and your guys are obviously brain boxes. Do you think that your technology is going to be the one where they meet their match if anybody tries to break into it? And that's happened with Coinbase, as we know of late. I could sit here and name 20 different companies right now that have had different hacks against them where they've lost, where people have not only just been shoved out of their accounts and had their crypto savings and even fiat savings taken, but, do you think that this ever increasingly hacked world of blockchain do you think that this is something where you guys are the solution? You guys are really there and at the forefront of protecting everyone's assets?
Yeah, I mean, we're really excited and proud of our product. So how I try to talk about our product is that, we can, for a B2B customer, we can, meet their tech stack where the need is, right? So if you look at some crypto platforms, they have both self-custodied and institutional custody wallets, right? So if you use Coinbase as an example, right, they have the main Coinbase product where they control the keys, and that is something where, the FIDO standard could greatly protect the login of users, and the expanded use of that on their platform, could provide huge amounts of security. And then they have their wallet product, a more minor product where users custody their own keys. They are, instead of custodying it on a mobile device, I would posit that if they integrated or people like them integrated the Arculus Card, right, your keys are now safely stored on your card. They're out of the mobile, out of that environment where they could potentially be penetrated. So, we're very proud of the product. We think we can serve users who custody their own keys as well as platforms that custody keys for users. And they're obviously very, very different use cases.
Today, Bitcoin rallied past 31,000. Do you, in your opinion, think that as the price goes up, more people are going to be looking into using solutions just like yours to protect themselves? Do you think the volatility of the market sees people being more interested? Do you see the subscription to your product like increasing and decreasing with the marketplace itself?
Yeah, I mean, whether it's our product or other products, generally interest in the space correlates to positive price pressure, right? Whether it should or not, when the market rallies, you hear all this positive news around one or several of the currencies. New wallets go up, adoption goes up, everything in the space goes up, and the interest in the inverse is somewhat true as well. For us, whether Bitcoin's at 60,000 or 30,000, we're protecting people's assets. So, and that security is just as important at both of those price targets. So, we feel we're relevant wherever the volatility of the asset can take you.
When it is good times and when you do see actually the price of Bitcoin, which is naturally increasing, and you see people who are getting into this space, are they using your technology to protect their investment or to really use this as a payment system?
A lot of our users, well, both, to be fair,
okay.
But a lot of our users who are more real-time are probably using it less on the Bitcoin chain. I would say our transactional users at least from feedback, right? Arculus is very private driven, so I cannot log into some database and even anonymously see what users are doing.
Okay.
So this is direct feedback from our users.
Yeah.
So, our customers who are very long in, say, XRP or ETH are often more transactional. So you're seeing them used either as payment instruments or sending ETH to the EVM and doing some sort of contract transaction. That's much more transactional. I would say our Bitcoin customers are less transactional. That's not means none, but less transactional, and generally, buy and hold and, sit on their Bitcoin.
There's been a strategy note which was issued from JP Morgan, and they actually said that they see significant upside to the price of Bitcoin. They're expecting, they said, a 28% rise. And they also said that, now this part I'm kind of struggling with. They said that crypto has replaced real estate as a preferred alternative asset class along with hedge funds. It's a little bit of a segue, but do you really see that Bitcoin is now replacing real estate in terms of an alternative asset class? Do you honestly think that is the case?
I'm not an investing expert.
Oh, you don't need to be. You could. Matter of fact, I'll do the disclaimer right now. Nothing that myself or Adam are talking about can possibly be construed as investment advice. If you need to do your own homework, your own due diligence, your own research. And if you really don't understand what you're doing, you definitely need to go get yourself a professional financial advisor who can help you through the entire crypto sphere and way beyond that. But yeah, just for fun, Adam, do you in your heart believe that Bitcoin is really replacing the real estate market?
No. I think it is very interesting and fantastic asset class. I want to be very clear. I'm long Bitcoin, long crypto, but I think it's different, right? Crypto is inflation hedged, in my view, more like a commodity. Is a very interesting market. I don't see it replacing the real estate market. I see it an active, vibrant, wonderful market, wonderful asset class, but I find it an odd comparison to compare it to the real estate market.
Yeah, when I read that, I thought it was quite odd myself, because I thought to myself, this is literally, in my opinion, chalk and cheese, because the real estate market is always going to be, it's quite a buoyant market in itself. And I don't see, especially right now, where all over the world, it doesn't matter if you're in Frankfurt or in, White Plains, New York, or in the middle of Hertfordshire in the UK, nobody can afford to buy an apartment anymore. Nevertheless, a house, the average person is, kind of struggling at the moment because, what's happening in the global economic stage. We actually look at what's happening on this global economic stage is also an indicator of how Bitcoin could address a lot of the problems that are going on out there. So your card, as I was saying before, with so much legislation that's happening in the world surrounding crypto, and after Davos, the World Economic Forum, the WEF, they didn't seem, a lot of heads of countries, they didn't seem very, I don't even want to say bullish on Bitcoin. They just weren't happy about cryptocurrency in general. They were really down on crypto. And that's actually another podcast that's coming out shortly. They were very down on crypto. How does a company like yours, when you see the heads of major banks, Bank of Thailand, the Bank of France, who are basically saying, hey, crypto is not in our future. Matter of fact, we think this is literally just fake money. This is just a bad thing. How do you address people who are talking to you personally, Adam, when they are asking you questions and they say, well, how do you guys address yourselves in this kind of space where you do have a lot of countries, including the United States, who are trying to still figure out how they fit in? How do you see your company actually being able to address a global arena when you have so many heads of countries who are saying, I don't see how this fits into the general financial puzzle. We don't see this as being part of the solution from a monetary or any kind of financial standpoint, be it in transactions or payments or whatever. What would you say to that?
Yeah, I would say that Compo and Arculus are in a really unique position to help bridge the CeFi, centralized finance gap between that and the DeFi and decentralized finance space. Regardless of what rulings come down from the U.S. and other countries, we're certainly going to comply. And we think we're in a really great place being on the smart card to help people comply with the digital asset and digital identity policies in a secure and compliant way. When I talk to users or if I do get a chance to talk to regulators, I think that from a regulatory perspective, from a pure payment instrument or currency position, that's where a lot of regulators and state are not super excited. For digital assets that are more like commodities or something that can enable smart contracts, I think they're much more tolerant or willing to see that play. Anything that's going to replace their, native fiat currency or compete with it, I kind of get why they're not potentially real excited about that. Mm-hmm. The U.S. wants to remain the reserve currency of the world for obvious reasons. Other currencies don't really want to compete with it either. But, for a person that, say, wants to send remittance back home, it's a godsend. If someone's in a hyperinflationary environment and you can instantly send units of value to a family member and know it's not going to depreciate, minute by minute as it goes over there, there's practically no fees, instant settlement. That is just an absolute godsend with no one in the middle. So the utility is there, and then, it's solving a need in the world where, FX, foreign exchange is not readily available for a lot of people, especially in developing countries. And there's just real utility these blockchain currencies and assets are providing that, is not being met by traditional finance. And so we think Arculus, with its, payments background, interaction with the banking community, is really well positioned to help kind of do all the things, bridge the gap, pay on traditional payment rules at Starbucks, and a few minutes later, either send Bitcoin to your, the next merchant you walk into, or send Bitcoin to a peer, Ethereum, or whatever. We think we're pretty well positioned to do that.
Let's just, again, touch upon the whole stablecoin storm, which was kind of started from Terra's UST stablecoin. I think over 7 billion of Tether was redeemed in the last week. And it looked like it really had, I just want to repeat that number in case you didn't catch it, Adam. Over 7 billion of Tether was redeemed in the past week. And it looks like it's had an impact on all the major tokens. And of course, Tether in itself is a long conversation. Which that's
yes,
it. Is that all you can say, Adam? Yes, it is.
That is all I'm saying. Yes, it is.
Oh, you're a hoot. But it's funny because this cash out of Tether, obviously it has escalated since the Luna crash. Yeah, the Luna UST crash. This is the other thing, though, because crypto investors, they often find they have really nowhere to go when they see like this volatility. When people are looking at stablecoins as being or trying to fill in that gap for the US dollar, do you guys actually give some kind of educational to explain to people what's happening in a space? No stablecoin seems safe at the moment, really. I mean, Tether, we know that there's no way they can have that one-to-one in reserves for what they're printing at any given moment. We'll just smooth over that like everybody else does. It just seems like nothing is kind of really safe, and the only option is really to hold those like steadfast cryptos like Bitcoin. Do you offer any kind of educational kind of platform for people to understand exactly what they can and can't do with their Arculus solution? I mean, or CompoSecure as a company? Do they offer these kinds of things, or do you just leave it for your customers to kind of figure it out on their own?
Yeah, and the support support section of our Arculus website, we do provide information that allows people to help understand that we don't offer kind of investment advice or token A over token B advice, but we make sure people understand what ERC-20s are, what a stablecoin is, what native currencies are. Next month when NFTs come out, we'll be adding the FAQs for NFTs. We make sure people have a sufficient level of understanding, but we do not offer investment advice. The consumer should come in as a informed buyer relative to those assets.
Yeah, we all hope that everyone's informed. This is what we all hope for. This is what this whole podcast is about. But you have people even like today. I don't know if you know this, but the co-creator of Doge came out and said to Elon that he doesn't even understand. This guy accused Elon Musk of not understanding the vision behind Doge. And so, you have even people like, and he's a techie, the co-creator of Doge, whose name is Jackson Palmer. Yeah. And so Jackson Palmer, who's this Australian guy, said that Musk doesn't understand this cryptocurrency, that he sells a vision, that he's hoping that one day he can deliver what he's promising, et cetera, et cetera. If you have people even, saying that someone like Elon Musk doesn't understand really about what's going on in the crypto space, which obviously, this is just there. It's obviously a fighting point that Palmer's trying to get to. But what hope does the rest of the world have if a guy who's sending people to Mars doesn't maybe understand crypto?
I hope they go in understanding the risk-reward ratios relative to these assets. They've become more, quote, blue chip crypto like Ethereum and Bitcoin, et cetera. And then some of the tokens are pretty good, pretty stable, and then others are purely speculative. And if people buy a purely speculative token, then they should expect speculative returns, either positive or negative. We'll keep those tokens safe, but at the end of the day, you have to, the same way I would do very significant due diligence before investing in stock, people should do their best due diligence before investing in a token. I do think that some stable coins, this is my opinion, not necessarily Arculus/Compo's opinion. I'm a big fan of Circle and the stable coins they put out. They put out a very robust audit trail, very robust posting of their holdings relative to their assets. So USDC, regardless of what chain it's on, I think is a very solid stable coin pegged to the dollar. And I actually think stable coins, well done stable coins like Circle's USDC have a really positive effect on the environment. It adds liquidity to the space. And I personally think if I was, at the Fed, I would be welcoming that because there are a lot of foreign economies that transact significantly for the dollar, in the dollar, even though they're not dollar-denominated countries. They are, effectively do all commercial paper and transact in the dollar. So, they create demand for the dollar internationally. And, if one of those countries can transact more efficiently and do more volume on, say, a stable coin, then we should be promoting that, right? So internationally, it's like the Marshall Plan for the dollar. You can drive incremental demand for the dollar because every time, they want one more USDC or USDC-like product, Circle or whomever has to go out and take up a dollar or take up a T-bill. And that's creating demand for the dollar. So if I'm at the Fed, I'm excited about dollar-backed stablecoins, right? Go spread that all over the world and create demand for the dollar.
Yeah, I'm absolutely with you. As long as USDC or any stablecoin is audited and is absolutely, I would even say regulated, because people have to know that they have that's backed, that it is, there's money that's being stored in an equivalent value somewhere. And if I remember correctly, Circle, which is the issuer of USDC, I think that they are subject to a lot of oversight from a lot of the state regulators as well as also a federal regulator. But I would need to check up on all that because this is the problem with stablecoins. They're not all created equal. And no, they're not. And that is a huge issue, which I think one day, if we're not all very careful in this space, the next thing that'll happen with the next stablecoin will make UST, which was Luna's answer to a stablecoin, look like a walk in the park. What are you guys then going to do? What's the next step on getting your solution out there into every man's hands? Does a man who's right now sitting in the middle of Zaire, do you guys want to have this like global reach? Are you targeting specific countries? Who's the real preferred target audience?
Yeah, I mean, we certainly have a global vision for the product. So right now we're in the U.S. And we're trying to make sure we fully understand the needs in the market and execute in that market well. But the vision for Arculus is to be in the hands of any man or woman that holds any reasonable amount of crypto, understands that if their crypto is on an exchange, it's really just an IOU, this much crypto. It's not necessarily there. Not your keys, not your coins, right? And we have this vision that everybody, we ship payment cards all over the world. Literally, every continent that's populated, we've shipped cards there. And we have this vision that anybody who's figured out that you need to own your own keys for your crypto, literally have your control in your hands, has this. And it's super easy to use, so anyone should be able to use it. We think the three-factor technology of security, the 3FA, something you have, which is your card, something you are, which is your biometric, and something which is your PIN. People should feel comfortable being safe, using it. If you have your keys, the government's not going to take it away from you. In some foreign countries, that's a major concern. You are ultimately in control of your assets. And we think that appeal, that ease of use, and the ultimate control of your destiny literally being in your hands, we think is going to appeal to a large market base in the U.S. and abroad.
Well, that actually raises another point because, one of the things which we understood from, I'm trying to remember which piece of legislation, but when Biden announced that he wanted to raise in the United States, it was something around $11 billion. And one of the suggestions that was raised was that they wanted to make sure that people with crypto were paying their taxes correctly, et cetera, et cetera. And so one of the things that was floated or mentioned was that companies, and without pointing any fingers, they could or could not rhyme maybe with soin taste, but were giving actual lists of American U.S. citizens, residents, who had accounts with them so that the IRS could verify their crypto holdings, et cetera, et cetera. So do you guys worry about this kind of request being given to you as a company?
I don't, because I would be unable to comply, right? So we ship you a card that is ready to generate your keys. We know we have shipped you a card, and then we know nothing else about it, right? I don't know any of your addresses. I certainly don't know your keys. I don't know your transactions. So they could send us a notice, and we would have to send a notice back that, our users are private citizens that maintain their own wallets, and you may contact them directly. We don't have any knowledge to give you.
That I think a lot of people are going to want your card after this podcast. Quick, get a card. Get onto the Arculus website. I just listened to Adam. Oh, God. What I would like you to do right now, then, is go over custody and go over all the different types of custody there is. Go for it.
So I think many users, start their journey on some exchange. And those exchanges are the custodian of those users' keys, meaning they don't really control their crypto. There's a pool of assets, and, let's say you bought Bitcoin there. Even if you have an address and it shows Bitcoin there, right? They're not your keys. Some chunk of their coin pool is allocated to you, but it's really kind of a, I owe you Bitcoin, right? We've entered this relationship. I owe you Bitcoin. If that exchange were to go bankrupt, you are effectively a creditor, and you can get in line with everybody else and get pennies on the dollar. They can also move your assets around in your name. Let's say they delist a currency, they might pull you out to cash or pull you out to a stablecoin or something else. they can make decisions for you. They are the custodian of your asset and have full control over your asset. So that probably doesn't sit well with a lot of people in the crypto community that, really want to have full control. There are some great exchanges out there. I'm not deriding them in any way. Just users need to fully understand what it means when you have a custodian and you have a custodial exchange. So a lot of users from there will pull, any assets they're not actively trading off the exchange into a self-custodied wallet. So you now generate your own keys. You usually get a 12-word recovery phrase that is, representative of your digital keys, your private keys for your crypto. So many of them are software wallets. So the key will live on your phone. We don't think that's the best idea. Pretty much all security experts would agree with us on that. So we are what's called a hardware wallet. Arculus is a hardware wallet. So you still generate and secure your own keys. It's just the keys live offline. So in our case, it's on a smart card. It's super easy to use. You tap it to the phone, PIN, biometric, do whatever you want to do. Other devices in the space are, little USB stick things, tiny screens, tiny buttons, and you get to spend the next 20 minutes trying to enter in a PIN with 2 buttons from like a pager from the 80s. So, that's a fundamental usage difference, and that's the rough kind of classes of custody and types of wallets that are out there. There's a ton of information on the website and the social and support platform explaining the differences between kind of hot wallets and cold wallets and custodial and non-custodial. And, that's a core tenet. Security is a core tenet of the product. So we feel it's very important people understand where they've been, where they're going, and why it's important. So kind of regardless of the medium, there's a ton of information on the platform on what it does and why and how it's important.
So are you guys actually sending, can I ask you this question? If you say no, I can't, that's fine. But are you guys actually sending then the Arculus card to people in Russia and China, or is that not allowed?
We are not. So Arculus, mainly for regulatory reasons, is currently deployed, at least B2C, is currently deployed in the United States. Yes, our B2C product is only U.S. B2B depends on the implementation. But,
right.
We could be doing it abroad. That said, we are not doing anything with Russia at this time, no.
Okay, what about China?
We're not doing it with China. We're planning on rolling out internationally. Just, being a public company, it's very, very important to us to do it in a compliant way.
Yeah.
There's a lot of kind of startups that roll the dice and, it is what it is. But we have to do this in a compliant way. So we're taking our time, and we will roll out the B2C where we can be compliant.
Adam, thank you so much for coming on to Crypto and Blockchain Talk. It's been a real pleasure.
Awesome. Thank you very much, and I greatly enjoyed it.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I think our listeners actually learned quite a bit from you. We'd love to have you on again, especially when you have done your huge international release and you come on here and tell us what's going on there. How's that sound?
Sounds perfect. I look forward to it.
Awesome. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning into this week's edition of Crypto and Blockchain Talk. Please remember to tell your friends and family that they can download these beautiful podcasts on over 70 different podcasting platforms. We have a partial list on cryptoandblockchaintalk.com, and the rest of it, well, you can find just by Googling Crypto and Blockchain Talk, and you'll find every single platform we're on. Furthermore, these podcasts are streamed on our sister radio station, Crypto24radio.com. Crypto24radio.com plays 24/7 around the world for your listening pleasure. Furthermore, we love to hear from you directly. Really, we love to hear from you. And of course, we have our social media accounts on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. But as we all know, we have our email, which is hot every day for you to just give us your comments, tell us what you want to hear about, and we do respond. So our email is education@savvy.digital. That's education@savvy, SAVII, digital.com. Again, we appreciate more than you'll ever know when you tune into us, because we know you have a very busy day. There's a lot of podcasts out there that you can choose. So when you choose us, it means the world. So please, be safe, take care, and goodbye for now.